Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Thereafter the legs of the gigantic form separately became manifest, and the demigod named Vishnu, not the personality of Godhead, entered with partial movement. This helps the living entity move to his destination. This ends the Bhaktivedanta translation. So in this verse, the manifestation of the legs of the gigantic form is been described. Padau asya vinirbhinnau, and the departmental head for this department, legs department, is Lokesha Vishnuravishad. He is a Lokesha, is one of the controllers, and so he is a demigod, and it so happened that his name is also Vishnu. So Lokesho Vishnuravishad, he enters Gatya Swamshena, with the policies for Gatya, the rules and regulations for movement. So department means it will have its own rules and regulations and policies and SOPs. So that's what he entered, Gatya Swamshena Purusho. Once everything is ready, Yaya Prapyam Prapadyate. The living entities are able to move to their Prapyam destinations. So this is referring to the destination, physical destinations. So if we want to move physically, obviously we need the legs. And even that movement is controlled, and there is a controller by name Vishnu Avishad. For example, here to Outgate or here to our accommodation, if you want to move, then we have to take the help of the legs. So the Bhagavatam here is bringing a strong idea that even apparently looking movements, trivial movements, even they are controlled by some controllers higher than us, higher than the living entity. The living entity is subjected to so many invisible rules and regulations. We may not be aware of it, but nonetheless, those rules and regulations are in place. They are called laws of material nature, combinedly put together. And these laws of material nature are not accidental. It is deliberately put in place. And we can see here, even if the beginning of the department, these laws of material nature are defined. So they are existing from the beginning of the creation. It is not that somehow along the line they figured out that something is missing and there is a law of nature manifested at that time. No. So we can see here there is a systematic strategy, a thinking behind the whole cosmic creation. So that's what we see here. From the beginning, the rules are being thought of and they are in place. That's why Prabhupada says, moment you recognize that there are laws of material nature, then immediately the question is, who is the lawmaker? This is an important question. Most of this scientific fraternity, they are interested in finding out what those laws are. The scientists, if you see, they are busy understanding the nature around them and constantly trying to experiment to figure out what those laws are. But the idea of the scientists is that once they figure out what are the laws, they want to exploit for their own means, for the betterment or for the happiness of the human society. So they continuously publish various papers and disclose their whatever they have discovered. They cannot create any laws. No human being can create the laws. That's why Prabhupada always used to remind us, Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Dharma is always been given by Bhagavat Pranitam, only the Supreme Lord. We cannot create the laws. Sitting in our house or sitting in front of the computer, we cannot create the laws which can control the whole universe. You can create some laws which probably can control your house or your little department, but the laws which can control the whole universe, whole existence, and that they can only be given by the supreme controller, that is Krishna. Okay, so the scientists are interested to figure out how the things are going on. It's very important to figure out the laws. Why? Because everybody understands that this world is controlled by these laws. For example, as soon as the corona pandemic came up, the first thing they were trying to understand is how this pandemic came into existence. What exactly happened? They wanted to figure out. And in such pandemics, the first question is, who is the first person? So they all went to China to figure out who is the first person who reported this. Because they want to understand how the origin is, how exactly it started. What did that first person do which has created this kind of a virus or pandemic? They are interested in that. So why is that they are trying to figure out all this? Because they want to see what exactly is the mechanism, what is the laws which are guiding them. Okay, so here we can see that when the whole structure for the universe is been kept in place, along with that the rules or the laws are also being thought of. So as soon as those rules are clear, then the living entities have an opportunity to travel physically. Actually, we can see the physical laws which control the movement are being discovered by the Newton. Newton laws are nothing but they are about the movement. So Newton is he has not created anything, he just discovered. He happened to sit under the tree of an apple tree, and suddenly he saw one apple falling down. He happened to ask a question, why is it falling down? Why it is not moving up? So that's when he started getting into the details to figure out what exactly is this phenomena. Why everything falls down? If you throw anything, again it falls down. So similarly, of course he figured out some gravitational laws, but he also pointed about the movement, the laws which are connecting to the movement. So unless one understands these laws, he won't be able to perfectly live in this world. If we don't understand the laws of material nature, there is no possibility that one can live happily. For example, if you don't know the traffic rules, the laws which are working on the roads, you cannot have a smooth ride. You cannot have a smooth life, on the roads at least. If you are back to the house, that's a different issue. On the roads you cannot have. Why? Because there are many laws which are guiding the ride on the roads. It is as simple. So similarly, when you want to walk also, you can see there is a big department created here, legs. And then there are rules for that. There are laws for that. So Bhagavatam is repeatedly pointing it out that a living entity is not all in all. A living entity is not independent. It is always dependent. It is dependent on someone even for its just walking few bits from here to there. For example, sometimes when we walk and then we don't see something carefully, then we can topple down. That's one of the rule, If you're walking and then you hit something, you'll topple off, right? Sometimes people break their nose and face, all those things, because there are rules guiding in the movement. Knee pains, leg pains, these are all nothing but the various laws of nature which are controlling these particular parts on the legs. Nowadays, knee pains and knee surgeries, they have become very rampant because the human society has lost vision of what these laws of material nature are. Now, Bhagavatam takes us to one more level of thinking. It says, fine, okay, you understood all these laws very nicely. Now you know what are the laws which are guiding your legs or hands or whatever, the entire body. You may be knowing all these things, but that's not that's not sufficient. Bhagavatam is taking us to a different point, saying, Nate viduhu swadda gatim hi Vishnu. It is talking about a different gati. There is a different destination. Okay, for physical destination to reach, legs are there are some laws are there, yes, you can reach. But then there is a different destination that the Shastra is talking about, and that is the destination of reaching Vishnu. Nate viduhu swadagatam hi Vishnu. Durashaya e bahiraddhamaninaha. Radha Govinda. So, the Bhagavatam is bringing this focus on a different goal. What it says is, we should have two types of goals. One goal could be the immediate goal, walking from here to ashram, or walking from here to some accommodation or some exit gate or whatever. That could be one of the goals, or walking to our company, reaching our seat. And there also there are some destinations defined, there are some targets. So reaching those targets, there are so many destinations we keep achieving every day. But Shastra is saying you don't be satisfied with that. There is one more destination that you have to think of. A overarching, a life's destination. Destination for the whole life. And that is Gati, Vishnu. That is reaching Krishna or Vishnu. So that is the ultimate goal. So Bhagavad Gita says, as long as the mind doesn't have a destination, then it will be disturbed. Any disturbance in the mind means there is no a proper destination defined. So in search of that destination, in want of that proper final destination, mind agitates, continuously agitates, and there won't be any satisfaction. So that's why it is important that the mind has to be given a final destination, a proper destination. Now what should be that destination? So many people, if you look at the civilization, they think the final destination is, they're also not sure, final destination is to earn more money or increase their sense gratification, more and more enjoyment, or enhance their bodily features, or keep themselves very fit, or enhance their skills, or enhance their ability to communicate, negotiate. Like that, the people come up with various targets in their life, various destinations in their life. And if they think that if they can improve their opportunities for enjoyment, that is considered successful. That is considered happiness. If somebody is able to achieve these so-called goals, then they'll become very happy. And the whole life is spent simply to enhance these facilities, enhance these opportunities for sense enjoyment. That's all. Whole life they'll be working. And even though they may achieve certain things, again they are dissatisfied, and then again they want to again further move ahead for the next goal. Recently there is one billionaire, Elon Musk or somebody. He has become world number one, in terms of the money. And the World United Nations organization, the chief, he made a statement that if the Musk can give 10% of his wealth, then the whole world's hunger can be eradicated. All over the world, the hunger can be removed if Musk can give 10% of his property, because now he is the number one. Of course, there is number one, number two, all this keep changing. Every quarter there is one Forbes magazine publishes the top 100 wealthiest persons of the world, and it keeps changing. As the stock market changes, their wealth changes, and then every day there will be somebody becoming big, somebody becoming papa. So then Musk asked, okay, can you tell me what is your plan? I am willing to give my money. 10% of the money I am willing to give. What's your plan? Of course, that UN chief, he didn't have any plan. He simply said, okay, 10% if it is there, I can. But actually we have a plan. They have to just give it to Akshay Patra, that's all. We have a plan. We have a working plan, not simply some theoretical stuff. We have a working plan to eradicate the hunger. But anyway, then he said, he posted one question in the Twitter. What do you all think? Should I give my, whatever that percentage of money, should I give like that? Entire Twitter, what do you call, Twitterati? Or something like that. All those people, they have voted and they said, yes, you should give 10% of your money to eradicate the hunger. And then he was about to give, suddenly he lost a major portion of his wealth because his stocks have come down, and then some billions he lost. But anyway, still, I think he is still considering to give some money, some 6 billion or something, a very big amount. $1 billion means about 7,000 crores. 1 billion. He is willing to give 6 into that much, 42,000, 50,000 crores. Actually, you can remove a lot of hunger. But then, if they try to remove the hunger ordinarily, that means without performing sacrifice to Vishnu, then it won't work. It will not work. It will only karma bandhana. Yajnadhat karmano anyatra. If you do anything other than sacrifice to Vishnu, anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. You may ask, what is this? You satisfy their hunger, finish. How it is karma bandhana? Because as soon as they satisfy their hunger, they immediately increase their sense gratification. They become stout, strong. They increase their sense gratification. And as soon as they increase their sense gratification, immediately there is suffering, misery. Maya punishes. See, such a vicious cycle it is. They don't know the secret. The secret is to give them food which is sacrificed for Vishnu. Then you may ask, okay, if they eat prasadam nicely, and that time also they will become strong and stout, then what will happen? They will develop higher consciousness. They will develop, Krishna consciousness. They give up the lower behaviors. You may say, no, it's all looking theoretical. Where is the proof that just by eating prasad, there is a change in the person? We have one experience in during the last government, Andhra government, there was some canteens were operated throughout the state. And then in Vijayawada area, there many canteens were operating. And we got one complaint from one of the canteens that every day there are some gang is coming. It's called Chaddi gang. Chaddi gang means they are ruffians, basically gundas. They come with blades, little knives like that. And then they came to have food. They are also drunk. And they used to come and hey, and they used to push everybody, and then they used to come and take some plates of prasad, plates of food. So then, because there is a system, there is a government put system that they have to stand in a queue, and everybody has to be peaceful. They have to pay. Initially, 1 or 2 cases they have not paid also. There is a Chaddi gang. So then, after 2-3 times when they came, maybe a week's time, and then slowly we stopped getting complaints from the manager. And one day, our devotees went there to see what is happening. The manager is still surviving, or is gone. So we went there to see, and that time the manager was telling, yes, even now the Chaddi gang is coming every day, but now they are not creating any trouble. And then somebody was showing the devotees, see, this is the Chaddi gang. And they are all very peacefully standing in the queue. They are all coming, 5 rupees they are paying, they are taking food, they are eating, they are going. So now, what exactly happened? It's not that we called police or we put some pressure, nothing. They ate that food for, say, about some 10 days. And immediately you can see some change in them. This is the difference. They don't understand this. They think food is food. Why it has to be offered in a sacrifice? They don't understand. So anyway, the point is that people may be chasing this money. And the current civilization is so created that only few people are becoming wealthier day by day. It is said that 0.7% of the billionaires of the whole population, that means they are the biggest billionaires, 0.7%, they control 70% of the resources. A small chunk of the rich people, they control 70% of the resources of the planet. So can you believe? And rest of the 99.3% of the people, they have to share 30%. Now this number I am telling, maybe is 1 decade back's news. Now we don't know. So why all these anomalies? Because people don't know what is their ultimate target is. If the capitalists are devotees, if the rich people are devotees, like we also have a highly devoted, rich business people as devotees of this temple, and they contribute a lot for prasadam distribution, for the prachara of the dharma, for constructing temples. They are properly situated, and they are chanting, They gave up their lower tendencies. They take only prasad. So this should be the mood. If the capitalists are educated in Krishna consciousness, if the rich people are educated in Krishna consciousness, then automatically they give their money for the welfare of the whole humanity, for the welfare of the world. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave this formula, Janma sadhak kari, karo paropakar. So the rich people, okay, they can have the goal that yes, we want to earn more and more money. That is the immediate goal. But they also should have an overarching goal, that is, I have to reach Vishnu, I have to reach Krishna. Now, if I have to reach Krishna, then what is that you have to do? That money, a portion of it, you have to part with Krishna. You have to give it to Krishna. Now, how much to give? That Prabhupada has already told. You have to give 50% to Krishna consciousness movement. Musk should give 50% of his wealth to Hare Krishna movement, Hyderabad. Any questions? Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.